This video is on a heart model. First of all, we're going to take a look at the cardiac conduction system. Then we're going to take a look at blood flow through the heart. And finally, we're going to take a look at the coronary arteries and veins. So if I take the front of the heart off and set it over here. So the heartbeat is initiated at the sinoatrial node, or the SA node. The SA node can be influenced by the autonomic nervous system, but all by itself the SA node will beat away. When it depolarizes, that wave of depolarization is conducted rapidly across and down the atria to the atrioventricular node. The conduction through the atrioventricular node is slowed down, which gives time for the atria to contract, filling the ventricles with blood. The impulse is conducted through the fibrous skeleton of the heart into the bundle of His. The bundle of His then branches into the right bundle branch and the left bundle branch. Conduction through this part of the system is very rapid, and it is carried up through the Purkinje fibers and causes the ventricles to contract from the bottom upwards, forcing the blood up and out through either the aorta or the pulmonary trunk. So blood first enters the right atrium. The superior vena cava drains the body from above the diaphragm. The inferior vena cava drains blood from below the diaphragm, and the coronary sinus drains blood from the heart itself. From the right atrium, blood flows through to the right ventricle, and about 2/3 of ventricular filling is passive. When the atria contract, that fills the final third. The ventricles then contract, which causes the right atrioventricular or tricuspid valve to close, and when the pressure increases enough to overcome the pulmonary pressure, it exits through the pulmonary semilunar valve. Blood goes to the lungs, becomes oxygenated, and it returns via the pulmonary veins. And we have 4 pulmonary veins returning to the left atrium. If we turn this back over, blood from the left atrium flows through the bicuspid or the left atrioventricular valve into the left ventricle. When the left ventricle contracts, it closes the valve, and when the pressure in the ventricles overcomes the pressure in the aorta, the aortic semilunar valve opens and blood is ejected from the left ventricle. So now let's look at the coronary arteries. The first branches of the aorta are the right and the left coronary artery. And these branches are so low down on the aorta that when the aortic semilunar valve is open, they occlude the artery itself. But when the ventricle is contracting, no blood can flow through it. It's not until the ventricle relaxes and the valve closes that blood can flow through the coronary arteries. If we turn this over and put it on top, we can see the right coronary artery runs round the coronary sulcus, which is a groove that runs around the heart between the atria and the ventricles. It gives off a branch called the marginal artery, continues round the coronary sulcus, and descends in the interventricular sulcus, and here it is called the posterior interventricular artery. The left coronary artery, we can see it coming down here, splits. One part of it becomes the left anterior descending, or the anterior interventricular artery, and the other branch continues round the coronary sulcus and is called the circumflex artery. There are three main veins that drain the blood. In the anterior interventricular sulcus, we have the great cardiac vein. In the posterior interventricular sulcus, we have the middle cardiac vein. And then on the right anterior, we have the small cardiac vein. All of those three veins and all of the other veins drain into the coronary sinus and then into the right atrium. Looking at the aorta, so after the ascending aorta, we have the arch of the aorta, we have the brachiocephalic trunk, which divides into the right common carotid and the right subclavian. We have the left common carotid artery, and we have the left subclavian. The aorta then becomes the descending thoracic aorta. Here we can see that the outer layer of the cardiac muscle has been cut away to show that the cardiac muscle runs in different directions, so that when it contracts and shortens, it squeezes the heart to make the volume smaller and to eject the blood.